Case is Britain, is British identity, is the British history, British culture, British achievements, writing, philosophy, art.
I would like to do away with the Queen.
That's our Queen. In this country you're talking about sunshine.
Not sunshine.
To an extent it's true that there has always been immigration. In the last 60 years it has been far, far larger than any previous point in our history. The amount of Huguenots, it's dangerous to an extent if you take advantage of the credulous and people's fears.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we're going to be watching a debate from 12 years ago on the BBC where Douglas Murray gets into a heated back and forth about British identity and culture. And to watch this with the power of hindsight is quite sobering, especially when you consider the events that have been taking place over the last week in the UK, which we will get into. Plus, I guarantee you that not even in your wildest imagination will you be able to guess where this debate goes at the end, unless you've seen it. So stick around for that, and let's get into the first section.
Should we promote united British identity? And Douglas Murray, how can you construct a narrative that, you know, unites under one umbrella, if you like, on a rainy day? You know, a hedge fund manager in Weybridge with a young Muslim lad growing up in Bradford.
Look, it would be very hard to create it if you were trying to do so from scratch. Fortunately, we're not doing it from scratch. I think you can create a shared British identity through our shared values, through our shared culture, through our history, our past, and that if you teach that and you transmit it well, it's something which anyone can feel a part of.
What aspect of that history do you emphasise?
All sorts of things. You emphasise, apart from anything else, the good and the bad. There's a feeling that at some points in our past we might only have celebrated the good things in our culture. Some people would argue in recent years we've only celebrated the bad. You've got to teach people pride and also awareness of pitfalls.
What's the pride then? You know, in invention, industry, culture?
In all sorts of things. People feel pride in different. Some people feel pride in our sporting achievements. Some people feel pride in our cultural achievements. I think most people feel a bit of all of these things. I think the key thing, though, is that when people talk about a shared British identity, they tend to assume that you're excluding people somehow. Mm-hmm. And I would say that the thing here, the key thing is you have a core culture, a culture on which all sorts of variations are played, all sorts of different people pursue different things around it, but that they know what the core is that they're riffing around.
What is the core?
Is that Benjamin?
The core.
The core in this case is Britain, is British identity, is the British history, British culture, British achievements, writing, philosophy, art, architecture.
But that's multiculturalism. You just said a lot of things there.
Yes, but and they're all...
multiculturalism. I mean, Britain by definition is multicultural. The Celts, the Picts, the Scyllas, all the early tribes that came here came with a different culture. Even the Romans brought a culture. So the new cultures that come here now are doing what we should be doing here is embracing them, and I would say not even tolerating them, but embracing them, because that is what is at the core of being British.
Yes,
not sitting down. If Pickles said, you know, Mr. Eric Pickles said, you know, he wants to come up with an idea of what Britishness is. Could you imagine a group of men, probably in suits, sitting around a table trying to define what it is as British?
You shouldn't, as I say, it shouldn't be invented. You're not having to invent something. It's something that exists. You just have to identify.
Well, yeah. What about empire?
Empire would be part of it. You would teach the good things about empire and you teach the bad things about empire.
Cultural achievements, writing, philosophy, art, architecture. Yeah, indeed he did say a lot there, but that's because there's a lot to say about this. This is what makes Britain, Britain, and it's what makes European civilization so great. And for people to come to these countries and just say, you guys, you don't really have any culture. You're basically one big melting pot of immigrants, and you really just need to welcome every single military-aged Albanian economic migrant man with open arms, because you guys have no culture. You just need to shut up about it. How insulting is that when you really think about it? But unfortunately, our cultures are completely numb to this sort of rhetoric. When in many other places, most other places in the world for that matter, if you started saying this sort of thing, you'd probably get mobbed in the street. But we allow it, and nobody wants to listen to the people like Douglas Murray, who correctly, and many years ago, pointed out this exact problem in his book, The Strange Death of Europe. And guys, those of you who watch the channel, and particularly those of you who follow me on social media, will know that I travel a lot and I tend to put myself in different places from month to month. And one of the main reasons why I do this is so that I can actually get a very thorough understanding of how different cultures around the world work and compare them. Just this year, I lived in Mexico for a little while, then the United States, and then went to Asia for a while, then Turkey, and now I'm back in a Christian European country in Romania. And just this morning, my brother and I were walking around the old town in Bucharest and just marveling at the amazing old buildings and thinking what this place and what Christian Europe as a whole for that matter would have looked like before communism and immigration tore through it. And even with that, these places are still remarkably beautiful. So I can safely say that the fruits of Christian European civilization and the cultures that came from that tradition, America, UK, Canada, Australia, and the likes, are completely unmatched in terms of culture. And the people who are flooding these countries are from cultures that are a world apart. And I'm certain that a lot of them are fantastic people. And I enjoy visiting their cultures, but I enjoy them for what they are and where they are for a period of time, and then I leave. And some would call me a racist for that, but I don't care. Christian civilizations are the best, and we need to do whatever we can to preserve these great civilizations. Otherwise, I genuinely don't know what we're fighting for. So more on this soon, but for now, let's carry on. If the last part made you cringe, the next part will probably be worse.
But so Benjamin Zeff and I, what should we do to, what's a better idea to foster a sense of unity then? What about the Queen?
What about her?
Well, does she not transcend all this? Is she not a great unifying force?
I feel very British. If I go to Jamaica, they look at me by the way I walk and the way I talk. I don't even have to talk, actually. They just see me in my body language and they know that I'm British. But I would like to do away with the Queen. Does that make me less British?
Yes, definitely.
No, it does not. Of course it does not. There's been a tradition of republicanism in this country for years.
This is a monarchy and a constitutional monarchy, and people have died getting
Does that make him less British?
Yes, it does.
It makes me less British.
It's absolutely
How dare you?
outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous that on national television he should come on and want to say he gets rid of the Queen. That's our Queen. In this country you're talking about sunshine. Not
Call me sunshine.
Sorry.
How dare you?
Well, anywhere else.
How can you have people like this on your programme calling me sunshine?
Anywhere else, if you were to insult the head of state, you'd be in trouble.
Well,
you can't go to Iran and insult the head of state.
Anywhere else, we are here.
Yeah, well, don't insult our head of state.
Isn't that the beauty of this country? You're allowed not to like the Queen. Well, what about the levellers? What about the Chartists? What about... You're allowed to have Union Jack T-shirts and go to, you know...
And the threat about being
Dinah, I'll be with you in a minute.
So you're British, but you believe that Britain has no culture and you want to just do away with the Queen? Yeah. That makes you less British, Sunshine. And all of a sudden, when he gets called Sunshine, he becomes offended and a victim. Who would have thought?
How can you have people like this on your programme calling me sunshine?
Anywhere else.
And that posh Chad there, that reaction was exactly what we need to see more of. He said, hey, listen, Sunshine, this is Britain. This is a great society. And who the hell do you think you are? Coming here and just defaming it. The very society that our ancestors fought wars for and shed blood, sweat, and tears to build. And I mean, you can have a debate about the monarchy all day. That's free speech. It's a part of the culture. But I do like to see British people having a bit of a backbone and putting their foot down because it's worth defending. So moving on now, guys, let's watch Douglas Murray spit some facts. And keep in mind that this was 12 years ago. And the problem has escalated enormously since then, which we'll cover.
Our friend there has highlighted something interesting.
He called me sunshine.
I know, you didn't like that, and I'm sure that, you know, I apologise if you were offended by that. But freedom of speech is absolutely vital, isn't it?
He just didn't give me any.
I just gave you.
Well, you have it now. You have it now.
Quite seriously,
You have a
look,
freedom to think what you want about whatever you
Even
want.
when the Queen and the monarchy were German, right? Even back then, there was multiculturalism in this country. Not so long ago, the East End of London was a poor Jewish area.
Yeah.
There's other parts of the East End of London which was a poor German area. Poor Polish areas in Manchester and Birmingham. And when people came from those countries, they gathered together for security because they had people that understood them. Once they lifted themselves out of poverty, they moved out. And that's what needs to be addressed in these communities, in these very poor communities.
Douglas Murray, this is actually about class, isn't it? This is about socio-economics.
To a great extent, yes. People who come into a country tend to be on the lower socioeconomic class when they begin, and gradually over decades and then indeed centuries they come up. So yes, to an extent that's the case, and yes, to an extent it's true that there has always been immigration in this country. In the last 60 years it has been far, far larger than at any previous point in our history, and so some of these debates are now a lot more febrile than perhaps they were then.
Can't be more than any time in
I'm afraid there was. I mean, the amount of Huguenots who came to this country over a quarter of a century was the same number of people that were immigrating into Britain in a few months under New Labour. So it was a different. But it was just a different pace, and it's not necessary to pretend that away. It's also not necessary to pretend away the fact that although we have immigration, there has also always been a sense of identity in this country, which should not be ignored, and it should not be pretended away. And a lot of people now say, well, Britain has always been a country of immigrants, therefore we have no identity that's British or no identity here. We do, people feel it, and a lot of damage is done when you tell people not only do you not have an identity, you don't have the right to an identity.
Guys, if you don't mind helping me get the likes up on this video, if you do so, then YouTube will push this out to the algorithms, helps me enormously. And also, at least 75% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. So if you are enjoying the content, then make sure to subscribe below. And of course, check out the reality-based store, guys. It is my very own merch line. I'm wearing my Based and Blessed design today, one of my absolute favorites. And we've always got new merch coming in. We've just got some oversized tees in. They look really, really cool. We've also got a range of hats, hoodies, mugs, and the likes. You guys can actually explore that catalog just below the video here, and the links to the reality-based store will be below as well. So guys, if that interests you, then definitely check it out. It really helps me to stay independent. So much appreciated. Let's get back to the video.
Let's go to the, go on, very quickly.
I was born in this country, educated in this country, and my identity is precisely not having that identity. I think the sense of Britishness is not having that identity.
That might be fine for you, but a lot of other people it might not be. A lot of other people want to feel an identity, want to feel a sense of pride in an identity. They might not want to, like you, celebrate not having an identity, but celebrate having one.
I think that is what Britishness is.
What is wrong with encouraging that pride of being British? And that was also help us to challenge extremism and all those people who are indulging in anti-national activities.
It's very dangerous.
We need to work together to combat that.
It's very un-British to think like that. That's my view.
It's very un-British to have an idea of being British.
Exactly. And when you're abroad,
that's an interesting paradox,
recognizing what that gentleman said, when you're abroad, you do have that feeling of Britishness because you somehow know what it is. But it's very nuanced, very complicated. But the idea of British people wandering around saying, I'm proud of being British, isn't very British.
A lot of people do feel that, and I don't think you should pretend that they don't have that identity or shouldn't feel it. But if I just quickly on this, another thing that is worth considering is the fact that, you know, historically and around the world, what we have here is pretty unique. It's not completely unique, but very few other countries have this level of tolerance, decency, acceptance, and so on. And that isn't accidental. It is because there have been people in this country who have thought this through before. There is a tradition of philosophy in this country, even a religious tradition in this country, which has been accepting of people, and which we should know about if we're going to celebrate it.
But I think that if you get somebody to come up with an idea of what it is to be British, you will lose that multi-layered...
You're not coming up with it.
So exactly right. They're not just coming up with it. And this goes to the point that I was saying before, that it's very insulting and damaging to come to a culture and say, you guys don't really have an identity. And if you just expect everybody to sit by idly forever while this happens, then you are absolutely kidding yourself. I mean, the British people are known for being pretty polite, but it is reaching a boiling point now. And just in the past week, we saw Tommy Robinson hold a massive rally in London. And also we saw some of the biggest riots that we've ever seen from British people. This came after the Southport stabbing, where 3 little girls at a Taylor Swift dance class were murdered. They were brutally stabbed to death, and many more were injured. And it's the latest of a string of violent crimes that are committed by immigrants or the children of immigrants. And what do you know? English people are rioting about it, and of course they're pissed off, because the police and the media will hide this and they will gaslight the public. They're not doing anything about it. And the shores continue to be flooded with illegal immigrants.
Oh my God, 2 people.
Where's all our stuff?
Where's our stuff?
What's still in there?
Everything, there's nothing there.
And honestly, this has gotten so bad over the past few years that I fail to see a way in which it doesn't culminate in the breakdown of British society, and certainly the end of Britain as we know it, which already looks like a withering away once great empire. And so, guys, onto a different note now, onto the last bit where they discuss, bear with me, guardian angels. And I just had to put this part in here because I find it interesting, a bit weird, but also quite funny to watch Douglas Murray's face during this. Because remember, during this time, 12 years ago, he was a pretty prominent voice in the new atheist movement, and definitely his views on Christianity have progressed since then. But it is interesting and kind of funny to watch this.
One of our guests, the author Lorna Byrne, can see many more beings than that. She says everyone here is accompanied by an angel. We're just not prepared to listen to them. Should we listen to the angels? Lorna, welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
Your book has been tremendously successful. It was #1 in the Sunday Times bestseller. I think it's number 5 today. You've lectured all around the world. What can you see right now?
Well, I suppose one thing to tell you all, I see the audience here, and they're a wonderful audience, but as well, I see your guardian angel physically behind each and every one of you, and it doesn't matter what religion you are, what nationality, or whether you believe or not. Even if you say you don't believe in God, you believe in nothing, you have a guardian angel that God has given you as a gift. And to me, you know, giving that one message all around the world is actually helping people to be kinder to each other, to be nicer. It's joining people together.
We have guardian angels, and there are other angels as well.
Yes, I see other angels as well. There's other angels here as well, and I'm looking at the audience so that I won't be distracted too much.
What can you see off? Do I have a guardian angel?
You have a beautiful guardian angel.
Oh, that's not my editor in my earpiece. It's
No, it's not your editor.
What's my guardian
earpiece.
angel look like?
Your guardian angel is actually giving a male appearance. Now, only 4 angels give a human appearance within themselves, so I wouldn't be able to describe them. They're very, very beautiful. They're neither male nor female, but they do that for us.
Are they big?
Yes.
Does Douglas have a guardian? I don't want a response here, Douglas. I'm just asking.
Okay.
Does Douglas have a guardian angel?
Douglas does have a guardian angel, and I know he doesn't believe, but that doesn't matter.
Does his guardian angel look happy?
His guardian angel actually is looking down on him and is quite contented with him.
With Steve over here, you've seen an angel, haven't you?
Oh, I have, yeah, on more than one occasion.
What happened when you... Tell me about the 10-foot angel you saw.
Well, when my second daughter was born, my wife had a difficult pregnancy on the first time through. And we were praying for 9 months that she would have a short labour, wouldn't need anything more than gas and air, and that it wouldn't last more than 4 hours, and that it would be a normal delivery. And the midwife came into the room and said, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you need to be thinking of 24 hours for this labour. I want you to ask now for an epidural, and we're going to have the forceps ready. Now, we'd been praying for 9 months a different way, and so together, my wife and I, we just prayed, well, Lord, what's all this about? And at that very second, this huge person appeared in the room. Now, I wasn't looking for an angel. I had no idea that an angel was likely to appear in the room. But he was stood, I would say, about 10 feet tall, no wings, looked masculine, wearing something like armour, stood at the foot of the bed where my wife was in, with his hands laid out. And a booming voice filled the room, saying, this angel has awaited his charge since the dawn of time. And I suppose it was at that moment that I started to believe in guardian angels.
Douglas, what do you listen to all this as an atheist?
Well, I think it's a very good idea for a book.
Just because she's on the bestseller list. It's why your book is on the bestseller list and mine isn't.
I couldn't read or write, you have to remember.
Sorry, Lorna, sorry?
Yeah, I couldn't read or write. I'm dyslexic. And I can't even say the word properly. And as a child, the angels used to say I would write about them and God, and I literally took no notice. And it was when the angel Michael, when I was married, wheeling one of my children home, said it was getting near the time to write. And I just looked at him and said, how on earth does God expect me to write one book when I can't read or write? I was very little, just, you know, exit you know,
you dictated it,
yes,
didn't you? You dictated it.
That,
okay. Yeah.
And
okay.
it just said help would be sent, and someone did come along and buy me a speakeasy. You know, you're speaking to...
A dictaphone. Okay, well,
yeah.
Sorry, Douglas, what were you saying? You were saying...
No, but I mean, it just seems to me that to an extent, whether you believe this is the case or not, it's dangerous to an extent if you take advantage of the credulous and people's fears and real fears. And people have a real fear of death.
What did Steve see in that?
People have a real fear of death, and they always have done, they always will do. And there are always people who can provide explanations for what happens. If you tell people they're looked after, it makes them feel better than if you tell them they're alone. So people who believe in reason on these things are always at a disadvantage, because we don't have soft fairy tales, and we can't take advantage of the credulous, and we can't claim that angels say rather banal things in our spare time.
So that one took a strange turn, no doubt. I don't really have any strong feelings about guardian angels myself. I mean, I'm open to the idea, although, like Douglas Murray said, did seem like a good book idea. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. And particularly, I'd be very interested to know if you guys have had any supernatural experiences at all. I'm actually extremely interested in the concept of near-death experiences and transcendental experiences. And I'm thinking about getting somebody on the podcast soon who's an expert in that subject. So if you've had any crazy supernatural experiences, then please leave them in the comments or even reach out to me, because I'd love to read about it. So with that, guys, don't forget to check out the reality-based store. You can get the best merch in the game, bar none, as well as my links are all going to be below. And if you guys want to subscribe to the channel, if you haven't already, right here. And also, if you would like to watch another video, right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.